Hey guys, what's going on? It's Blade again from Carplay Security, and today we're looking at 3 Pioneer doubled-in head units. We've got price points varying from roughly £400 going up to £700. So we're going to start off with the AVH-Z9200. Okay, so the AVH-Z9200DAB, fantastic, roughly entry-level unit from Pioneer. This has Apple Carplay, Bluetooth streaming, hands-free calls, DAB radio, and web link. So it's a very, very good unit. Let's open up the box and see what comes inside. Okay, so we've opened up the box. Let's see what comes inside. So it's a relatively simple setup. So we have, first of all, a USB extension. So this has a female USB plug on the back of the unit, and this is a male to female extension. So you would plug this into the back of the unit, and then usually you want to run it through to your glove box, or sometimes your vehicle has a factory USB, and then that way you have to use a retention to do so, but you can run that for there. That's the way you're going to connect your phone for the Apple CarPlay. Here we have some hardware, so you have screws for the side of the stereo if you're using a mounting bracket to fix it to the vehicle. You have some other screws and the removal keys for the cage that comes with it. This is your Bluetooth microphone, so this will be plugged into the back of the unit and then run to your sun visor or headlining for your hands-free calls. This is your main power harness, so this is a multi-pin connection for the back of the unit, and then it goes to an ISO connection for your vehicle. Now, most vehicles will need an adapter, so you'd have to go from ISO, which is universal, to whatever your vehicle's connection is, and you may need a specialist harness if your vehicle is CAN bus as well. And then lastly, you have the instructions. Very important you read through these in multiple languages. If you get stuck, these are most of the time going to help you out with that. And then you have the unit itself. Okay, so the unit has a 6.2-inch resistive touchscreen. So being a 6.2 inch, this is the reason why this unit does not have Android Auto, only Apple CarPlay. So Android Auto is only available on units that have 6.8 inch or bigger screen size. So just bear that in mind, this does not have Android Auto. So as I said, resistive touchscreen, you have a CD/DVD mech on the top here, and then you have your physical buttons down the side. So we'll go through what the buttons do in a second when we power it up. But let's have a look at the other features on the unit itself. So it comes with a mounting cage. Obviously, it's a full depth unit as well. So just bear in mind, some vehicles can only take shallow units, so which will be probably about that deep. This is a full-size chassis, and all of these Pioneer units are full-size, so bear that in mind. Now, on the back of the unit, you have all of your main connections. Let's go through it quickly. So up here, you have your microphone connection, so that's for this bad boy. Next to that, you have what's labeled W/R, so that's for your steering wheel controls or wheel remote. Pioneer use a jack plug for the steering wheel control input, so if you're using a harness adapter which will give you steering control output, you can plug that into there. Down here you have your female USB, which I mentioned, that's what the extension is for. That will plug into there and go to your glove box. Here you have auxiliary audio input. This is your main harness input, so that's this plug here. That'll go in there. This is your fan to keep the unit nice and cool, so make sure that's not being covered. This side you have all of your audio output connections, so RCA essentially. So you have a front pair, a rear pair, and a subwoofer pair, so this is if you're running aftermarket amplifiers. This unit has 2 camera inputs, so you have a front camera input and a rear camera input. This unit has auxiliary audio and video output, so you can run a separate screen with this unit or a separate monitor or something like that. You can use that there. Here we have your DAB antenna, so that's the little gold pin there, and then underneath is your FM antenna input. That is essentially it. You have a that yellow connection there is for a navigation add-on adapter, which Pioneer do sell, but you've got Apple CarPlay, so you're probably not going to need it. But if you do prefer built-in navigation, you can have that option to add it on. So that's the physical features of the unit explained. Let's power the unit on. We'll go through the interface. Okay, so I've got my trusty power pack ready. Let's plug it in, and we'll see what the startup time's like. It's on. Okay, so not the fastest unit to turn on, but it doesn't take too long to be fair. So obviously this is going to come up when you first turn the unit on. Obviously select your favorite language. This is going to tell you whether you want network or standard mode. Majority of the time you're going to be in standard mode, so we'll click OK there. Now this is a warning screen. Will come up every time you turn the unit on because it's a multimedia screen. It's a legal requirement for that to come on, and it will automatically come up by itself. So this is your home screen. So your main connections are going to be over to the right here. You can obviously go into all of your different features from here and your settings. So we'll quickly show you FM. Now all of these units will have the same FM and DAB interface. The home screen will be slightly different on some others, but we'll quickly do it on here. The others, that way we don't need to do it. So this is your FM. You're going to be seeking your channels, find a channel that you like, and then you can open up here, press and hold. It'll beep, and then you've saved that as your preset number 1. And then you can find another channel, and then go into here, press and hold, and then that will save that as preset number 3. You obviously have FM 1, 2, and 3, and then you have medium wave as well. So let's come back out of here. So now these buttons down the side are going to be your kind of home buttons and volume controls. So the middle button here is your home. That's always going to take you back to this screen. Volume up and down is here. Obviously you can do it from the screen as well. You can also mute it from the screen. Now up here is to go into your multimedia. So if you've got Carplay going on, you can go straight back into it by clicking on there. And then this is going to bring up what source you're playing. So if you're listening to radio, it'll allow you to skip through your things very quickly there. This is a back button. So if you don't want to be in this screen, you just click back. And then this is voice control. And up here you have your disc eject button. So you click that, you should hear the motor running. Obviously we don't have a disc in there, so nothing's going to come out. Bluetooth, very simple. Pair up your phone. It's going to come up here. You can select multiple phones. You could have one phone for phone calls, one phone for music, or you could have even 2 phones for phone calls if you need to. That's all set up through this. You can do a quick source select through that drop-down box, and you can select which you'd like. You can go into iPod. Now the digital radio setup is very similar to the FM, as you just seek a channel and preset over here. Now when you connect your smartphone, so your iPhone, to the USB connection, you will show, over here you will show Apple CarPlay. You'll just click on that and that will come up. Settings wise, you've got loads of settings to play with. You can change the color of this side here. You can change your background. You can change your audio settings. You've got lots of audio settings to play with. 13 band EQ. Play around with all that. Set that how you want it. You have 2 customs and some presets as well. You can change your crossover settings, listening position, time alignment. Lots and lots you can play with there to get your sound as good as possible. Now I'm not going to show you Apple CarPlay on this unit as we're going to show you on the other ones because it will be exactly the same. Okay, so that was the Pioneer AVH-Z9200DAB. So just to quickly run through the features again, you've got Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto, Bluetooth streaming, hands-free calls, DAB radio, web link, which is essentially screen mirroring for iPhones, which is showing on the screen now, and you have FM and AM radio. So we're going to switch over to the Z5200. Okay, so this is the AVH-Z5200DAB. So this is almost exactly the same as the 3200, but this has a bigger screen which allows Android Auto. So I'm going to bring up the 3200 and I'll show you the differences side by side. Okay, so as you can see them next to each other, you can clearly see the difference in screen size. So what they've done is they've slimmed down this side bezel here with the buttons, and that gives you an extra 0.4 of an inch. So this is a 6.8 inch display rather than 6.2. And as I've said, that means then you get the Android Auto. But other than that, the unit is exactly the same. So even on the back, let's turn them both around. All the inputs and outputs are the same. So you have the same front and rear camera input, same RCA, outputs, the same power, everything else is the same. Okay, so we've got the unit powered on. You should be able to see that obviously the screen size is a bit bigger, so it's going to look a bit nicer in the vehicle. Now I'll quickly show you the buttons. They're essentially the same, they're just laid out slightly differently. So this is your home button still, so still going to do the same thing. Eject button is still at the top there, volume is still there. Now rather than your voice control being at the bottom, it's now at the top. And then you've got the source switch and source select button basically at the bottom there. But the layout is the same, exactly the same thing as the last unit. Okay, so let's go to the last unit, the Z9200. Now this is the big boy unit that's got all the features you're going to want, so let's grab that quickly. Okay, so this is the AVH-Z9200DAB. So as you can probably see, there's quite a lot more to it, but don't be intimidated, it's all pretty simple, it's just extra cables. So let's start off over here. So this is your RCA input and output cable. So rather than it being direct plug on the back of the unit, because this has so much internals, they've had to run an extension. So this is a plug directly to the back of the unit, I'll show you that in a second. And then it goes to all of your RCA inputs and outputs. You still have your front and rear camera input option, front, rear and subwoofer RCA output, video and audio output also. You've got the same screw package, hardware package. You get a zip tie in this one for some reason, not really sure why, but that's that. You have the same power cables. You have the same Bluetooth microphone. I'll explain this in a second. This is a Pioneer specific dash camera or rear camera input. Now you get dual USBs with this unit. So you can run one for Carplay and one for USB music, for instance. And that's what this is for. So this is to show you what one is for. So one will run for Apple CarPlay, one will run for Android Auto. So you're going to be able to connect, basically just stick this around it so you know which is for which. Now this uses a GPS antenna, so that's what this is. So this is going to give you much more accurate location for your map and stuff like that. Essentially the others have a GPS antenna built in. Again, because there's so much hardware inside this, they couldn't do that, so you have an external one. And then you may be wondering what this is. I'm going to explain this in a second, but this is a case of some kind. I'll get to that. And then you've got the unit itself. Okay, so let's go through the differences on this unit. So the Z9200 has a 7-inch display, still a resistive touchscreen, so no difference in touch responsiveness really. But it being a 7-inch, obviously it's going to be a bit bigger, nicer to use, easier to get around everything. But rather than your buttons being along the side on this, this is down the bottom. So it does have a plinth that sticks out slightly. That's the only way they've managed to get the buttons in there. But you have all of your controls ready to go, and it doesn't really stick out much. I'd probably say maybe 10 mil. And then on the back, you have a few different connections, so let's quickly go through it. So here is your dual USB connections. This is your GPS antenna. This is your steering control input. This is an audio output. It's a microphone input. This is your power connection. Fan as normal. This side. This is where you would plug in all your RCA ins and outs on that lead that I showed you a second ago. That's the specific camera input. This is your DAB antenna input, FM antenna input, and that is your navigation add-on plug. Now one other thing, you may not spot it, but buried deep inside there, you have an HDMI input. So you can run an HDMI source to this unit. So you can, essentially you can do proper screen mirroring on an iPhone if you use the right adapter. Now the few things that make this unit special is because this is a 7-inch screen, obviously you have CarPlay and Android Auto, but not only is this just CarPlay and Android Auto, it's wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. And it'll also do wireless Android screen mirroring as well. So if you have an Android phone, you can mirror your screen directly to this. You can watch YouTube or Netflix if you want to, obviously not whilst you're driving, but you can do that if you need to. And obviously, as I've said, HDMI input. So if you have an adapter for your iPhone, you can do screen mirroring for that as well. So let's get this unit powered on and I'll show you the differences internally. Before I go any further, let's get rid of the plastic here. Oh, satisfying, yeah. Over this side, you'd usually find your source selection. Now they've moved that here and they've added an expansion box. So you can expand it, so you have all of your source options here. Let's get out of there. And also it's going to show you what source you're on up here, which it did on the other units anyway. Now, this unit has the same features in terms of the Bluetooth streaming, hands-free calls, DAB. The radio is going to be the same. Preset your stations, same as DAB. Now this being wireless CarPlay, you connect to the unit via Bluetooth and this will bring up your CarPlay without having to plug the unit in. Obviously that's going to come up down here, just click on there and it's going to search for your phone. Now if we come back out of here, now this is this unit's party piece. If I click over here and do that, this has a motorized screen. But it's not just a motorized screen. So you do have the CD/DVD player behind here. You have an SD card input. Not only does this screen flip down, if I click this button again, we'll go back to where we were. If I click it one more time, you'll see this button here. So if you do that, it's going to show you can actually detach the face. Now, if you look underneath here, if I just lift it up, you've got a little lever. So if you push that, lift it up, pull back, you can take the screen off. So the screen's fully detachable, so that means you can take it away with you and that becomes essentially useless. So if I grab the bag, you can then fit the face inside the bag and pop it in your bag and away you go. It's not going to get damaged or anything. Now just to show you how to put the screen back on, it's a little bit fiddly sometimes, but if you just go from the top in, you'll find where the latches are. There we go, we're in, and then we just click it back in. So I'm going to grab my phone, we'll show you wireless Android Auto, and then we'll show you wireless CarPlay as well. First thing we're going to do is connect via Bluetooth. So we're going to go into our Bluetooth on our phone, find the unit. I've got 10,000 Bluetooth connections here, but I'm just going to find it. So here we go, up the top, AVH-Z9200DAB. So connect to that. Pair, yes. There we go, so allow access to contacts, allow. And then what you do, connect the phone via the USB first of all. So this is plugged into USB 2 port. And that's going to launch Android Auto. And then all you do, disconnect the phone and then click on Android Auto again. So we're not connected. And there we go, we are connected to wireless Android Auto. Obviously, I'm not connected. Android Auto is here. You can go into Spotify, play your music, go into Waze, set a destination to go home, go to all your different apps on Android Auto. That's it. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the wireless Apple CarPlay. This is a little bit more simple. What you do, go into your settings on your phone, go to CarPlay, and you're going to search for the device. Okay, so now if it doesn't come up, you go back, go into Bluetooth. You're going to find it on Bluetooth. There we go, Z9200DAB, connect to it, pair, yes, allow. Okay, so it's asking us use CarPlay with AVH-Z9200. So we're going to use CarPlay. There we go, so you see it's popped up here. Click on that. There we have it. Wireless Apple CarPlay. So again, you've got your maps, music, settings. Go into here, select all the devices you'd like to use, and away you go. Right guys, so that was the overview of the 3 Pioneer head units. So we have the Z3200DAB, the Z5200DAB, and the Z9200DAB. So to quickly run through it again, the 3200, the cheaper version, has only Apple CarPlay and that's via USB. The Z5200 has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto via USB. And the Z9200 has both wireless Android screen mirroring, HDMI, flip down screen, removable screen, lots and lots of spec. So all the prices will be in the description with links to the website. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.